That's how I live my life every day. Super verklempt. Hey, welcome, America, to the very first episode of Unscripted, although it's a lot like other shows I've done. The point of the show, Unscripted, is to cover the news of the day. And the reason we do this is because if you know the news of the day and you can talk about it, it makes you feel intellectually superior to your friends, your family, your coworkers, and that's very important. The other thing we do is we interview the very best CEOs and founders that the world has to offer. And we have one of those today. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Felato of Throttle Falato Leads. Welcome to the show.
How you doing?
Doing all right. How are you doing?
How you doing?
I'm doing. We'll see. We're about to see how I'm doing. Okay, so we're going to cover the news, but the news can get a little heavy. Then we're going to interview you. But before we do that, I don't know if you know this, but every day in the United States is some day, some reason to celebrate. It's not always Christmas or Easter or New Year's. Today, National Apple Day. Did you know that? Did you know that's National Apple Day? Let me tell you about apples.
Did not know.
You don't have, do you have strong feelings? Michael, let me ask you first. Do you have strong feelings about apples?
I don't like them.
Oh my God.
Like them?
For
None
an
of them?
Air Force veteran.
I like apple juice.
Okay.
Oh, well, that's apple something. That's good.
Yeah.
Because
don't
I was
like
going
fruit. Don't like fruit or vegetables or anything that's kind of like the plant-based stuff that unless it's liquefied.
You don't like fruit or vegetables as a whole?
Oh.
Wow.
What about a caramel apple? That's it's still fruit, but it's the caramel on there. So no.
But like the green juice that's in naked juice, all the stuff that's in it, I'll drink that. I love it. But no, don't like I don't like texture like that for some weird reason.
I don't think I've ever met a human that doesn't like apples, but let me just go over real quick. I think we know this, but everything apples have done to us, apple sauce, apple juice, apple pie, and assorted other desserts like crisps and tarts, apple butter, apple cider. Not a lot of apple ice cream out there for some reason, but I think apples have given us an awful lot.
Huh.
Somebody on Reddit was kind enough to do a apple tier. And Mike, you're not going to be able to chime in on this because you're not into it. But Honeycrisp and Fuji being up top, initially I was offended by this, but then I thought about it. Honeycrisp is very difficult to beat. Tom, how do you feel about that?
No, that is absolutely the case. Yeah.
Honeycrisp.
You can't beat a good Honeycrisp, especially if you're at a orchard picking.
Oh my God. If you go to an apple orchard, don't pick anything else. If you do, you're a stupid asshole because Honeycrisps, if they have them, are the very best. I prefer Jazz, which is in tier 2. Listen, we can agree to disagree here, but Jazz, have you had a Jazz? Oh my God.
Yeah. But I guess you had a Granny Smith down in D. That's pretty low.
Mike, this is
versions of apples here. I mean,
I say this all the time. We're in the golden age of everything. Like if you were an alcoholic in the 70s, what were you getting drunk off of? Miller High Life and Jameson. Now there's the best beers like in the history of mankind. There's the best bourbons. Apples, 100 years ago, you had Red Delicious, and they're disgusting. Now, terrible, flavorless. They're very pretty. They're very red, but flavorless.
Granny Smith suck too, or is that what's going on?
I like Granny Smith, but they're best if with like caramel or like a chocolate dip.
It needs help. It's very tart. It needs something to balance.
What is the apple juice made from?
Fuck. God, I wish I knew that. Someday when we have a producer, they're gonna. But here's what I suspect about apple juice. I think they juice them and then add a shit ton of sugar. You know, I think so. Like the actual apple itself, I don't know.
Well, you can't get the natural. There's ones with less sugar, but yeah, there is sugar in there.
Well, I don't want to belabor the point too much on apples, but I will say this: if you go to like an apple thing and pick some shit, and then you get the apple cider, that is a totally different juice than like Mott's on the shelf of. You know what I mean? So, my point is they're dicking around in the background of the apple juice to do something with it. All right, enough about apples. Let's get to the real story of the day, or one of 4. Okay. I don't know how you guys feel about self-driving cars, but I think they are inevitable, which is a little freaky because I think we like, certainly as Americans, to be in charge of our own destiny behind the wheel of a car. But this is from the Wall Street Journal. It's how San Francisco learned to love self-driving cars. Self-driving cars have won the hearts and minds of the tech-forward city after a rocky start a year and a half ago. Last summer, Waymo, which is owned by Google's parent, Alphabet, was doing 10,000 paid rides a week. By May, they were up to 50,000. Now it's more than 100,000 across Los Angeles, Phoenix, San Francisco, its largest market. This is the Waymo. They use little white Jaguars.
Yep.
What freaks me out is this bottom right was a screenshot of a video, and it just shows like the steering wheel moving. And the thing here, you can't really see it, but it says, "Please, God, do not touch it. You'll fuck up everything." And then this dude on the left is a guy in a motorcycle. He's looking behind him, and there's a vehicle without a driver, which would freak me out. Because if it taps him, he's going to die. Like, how do you feel about self-driving cars?
go to San Francisco for tech conferences, so I see these all over the places. So it's interesting. You don't see these anywhere else, pretty much. And now Tesla just announced their taxis, but it's pretty cool. I just don't know how safe they are. I mean, they have to be pretty safe. They wouldn't be on the road, especially in California.
Yes. So here's a couple things about the safety. One is that they're not allowed on highways yet. I think they got permission in some city, which is like conceptually bizarre, because if they're fine where people are walking, you would be fine. You would think that on a highway it would be easier. You know, it's a little less complicated on a highway, I think.
It is. You're right. That's a good point.
But they've killed the dog, which was a big deal.
so have people. People have killed other people, so I don't see why you wouldn't let them go if they're safe enough. But people have killed people for the last 50 years in cars.
So we're big on, gun deaths are about 30,000 Americans a year, and that's a big issue. Cars are about 30,000 Americans a year. So like 30,000 people, that's a lot of fucking, and a lot of that could be prevented. It's distracted driving, drunk driving. It includes a lot. These things don't get drunk. They don't get distracted. And then, so I guess the pricing for a robo-taxi is similar to Lyft or Uber. Oh, no, it's more expensive, but there's no tip involved. So it evens out at the end, which is, I think, kind of a point that I didn't think about. You don't tip robots, which is nice.
Well, another thing, too, is you don't have to have a conversation with them. You get into an Uber. Sometimes you're just like, I guess we have to do small talk, whatever. You must feel like you have to. But this, no one to talk to. So,
yeah. I've never been in one of these yet, and I've been to San Francisco numerous times. It's kind of weird seeing them drive around, but they seem pretty good.
The article goes on to say that it's a big tourist attraction-y thing now too. Like tourists will go to San Francisco, take this thing to the attractions, and then take pictures of the Waymo. Like it's a thing now in San Francisco.
Well, until it gets normal.
Right, and then no one's gonna. Yeah, that would be weird. I'm sure people took pictures of their Model Ts a lot too when they had those. There's a higher retention rate for Waymos versus Uber and Lyft. And the number one reason, Tom, to your point, is that you don't have to talk to anybody. Like this just fucking, I get it. Talking to people is a pain in the ass, but this is where we are. Like everyone's like, oh, we're so lonely. We're only on the internet. And then given the opportunity to talk to another stranger, we're like, absolutely not. I'm not fucking doing it. I'm taking a robot.
Yeah.
Surprised
New York doesn't have it yet.
Oh, it's coming, baby. They just got one of these. So Tesla's involved. Uber signed with Waymo. Zoox is Amazon's robo-taxi company. So that's going to happen too. But one of them just got permission to do somewhere in New York. So it's happening. This is another thing. AI is going to take every single job. People just think it's our jobs, marketing, sending emails, writing white papers. They're taking all the robot taxi driving jobs. They're going to build houses soon. It's coming.
We'll make us more efficient. Anything that I do that's automated or AI, I can focus it on more strategic stuff.
Yeah, but my only concern is when they start doing the strategy. I think we're going to have to come up with a universal living wage. It's going to be like Wall-E. We're just going to be fat things in moving chairs watching television all day, because what else is there to do?
Yeah, I'll never go there.
Yeah,
we'll see. You say that now.
Full throttle's a black belt jiu-jitsu. I don't lay around all day.
No, you can't listen. We can't talk about you yet. We're going to talk about your saxophoning and your black belts.
You're telling me we're going to lay around and get fat? That's not me. Forget about it.
we might be too old, but I'm telling you, in 100 years, the idea that humans used to work is going to blow people's minds.
Yeah.
One more thing.
We already have kids not wanting to work now, so we already started going there.
We're right there. The last thing I'll say about this is it's a little dangerous in cities that are going to be gross, and that's going to be inevitable. So a bunch of soldiers already got kicked out of a Waymo because they tried to sit in the front seat, and that's a big no-no. But people are going to be puking in these things because they're going to take them home after going clubbing. People are going to be like, have you had sex in a Waymo? It's going to be a thing. People are drinking. You know what I mean? They're going to start stabbing the seats. Any public transport. Have you been on a bus lately? It looks like it was bombed. That's what's going to happen to these things.
The soldiers were doing what in the car? Getting in front.
I don't know if it was soldiers. It might have been guys in the Navy. I forget. But they went in and they were like dicking around with it. And somebody tried to sit in the front seat. And if you try to sit in the front seat, I guess it shuts down. It doesn't. So my larger point is they're going to start spray painting these things. They're just going to do awful. They're going to treat them like shit. They're going to be full of trash. So.
Yeah, which is what happens. It's why we can't have nice things, because people
exactly why we can't have nice things.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
All right. Next story. The Wall Street Journal reports that this crisis at Boeing and Intel is a national emergency. I didn't think this article was going to be very interesting. I thought it was the most interesting article. So here's the deal. A generation ago, any list of America's most admired manufacturers had Intel and Boeing near the top. Today, both are on the ropes. Intel has suspended its dividends, slashed jobs, and capital spending, and is a takeover target. Boeing has been hobbled by investigations into crashes and mid-air mishaps, production delays, and a strike. A breakup or bankruptcy are no longer unthinkable. And this is why that fucking matters. Since they're problems of their own making, it's tempting to leave them to their fates. Investors would likely shrug. Intel is only worth, it's just worth less than $1 billion, while Microsoft, Apple, and NVIDIA together are worth 10 trillion. Here's the problem with that, though. The tech giant software and devices are useless without the advanced semiconductors whose fabrication they contract out, especially to Taiwan semiconductor manufacturing companies. If China makes good on its threat to subjugate Taiwan in the coming years, the entire U.S. tech sector could be at Beijing's mercy, meaning Apple, Microsoft, and NVIDIA. This is problematic, this article, for many reasons. At the end of 1999, 4 out of the 10 most valuable U.S. companies were manufacturers. Now, 0 manufacture anything. Tesla comes in at 11. Our lack of manufacturing, we still come up with all the great ideas, but we're not making anything. And when we don't make anything, we become, subjugated to China and Taiwan, which is concerning, don't you think?
Yeah. I don't like it. But it's what are you going to do? You got to worry about what you can control as a person. And if I sit there and freaked out every day, I think that we're going to go to war every day, just being former military. I can't worry. I got to worry about me and my family first.
Right.
I totally agree. Ignorance is bliss. And when we start to do shows like this and I cover the news, it does drive me a little crazy. But part of this too is like the idea that any system is perfect. So capitalism here, what we're doing, the whole reason this is an issue is that they've prioritized profit over innovation. But that's baked into a system. Like, don't you want to make more money? And that's where Boeing got in trouble, because they started to make engines that were cheaper, ostensibly faster, and of less quality. And that's when everything started to go downhill. If you would ask me about this 3 months ago, I would have been way more prepared. I'm a Boeing apologist. I think I'm the only one on the planet. Let me tell you who kills more Americans in the past 40 years than Boeing. Would you like to have the list? Also, this is every year. Vending machines kill more people than Boeing. Selfies, cows, hot dogs, icicles, lawnmowers, falling out of bed, lightning strikes, amusement park rides, and mosquitoes. Boeing does not kill people, statistically speaking.
Yeah.
There were 2 crashes with the Boeing Supermax 730, whatever the fuck it was, when they changed the operating system. One was Air Indonesia, and one was Air Somalia or something like that. I'm not trying to make light of those crashes, but there were also pilot errors. It wasn't entirely Boeing's fault.
Yeah.
Everyone's up in arms about Boeing because a door blew off. In any industry, and I know it sounds like there's breakage. There just is. Like some things are not. Waymo killed a dog and they killed a few people, but so did the Model T. It didn't mean that we stopped making cars, you know?
I bought Boeing when that happened. Not that that's a great idea, but I'm like, COVID hit, all the travel companies, I bought them. Boeing had problems. Chipotle had problems. That's when you buy that stock. Boeing's not going anywhere. Chipotle's not going anywhere. So if you're an investor, to me, that's the perfect time to buy that type of company, because things go wrong, things happen, and if they're negligent over and over and over, then there's a problem. But I don't think Boeing or Intel, any of these companies, are trying to hurt people on purpose.
No, it's not their business model to kill you. It's their business model to keep you alive. So
they want you to fly again. They want you to get back on the plane.
Yeah. It seems to be that part of the problem is that it's sort of like, I know this is a weird analogy, but the U.S. postal system, it loses money, right? But we need it, so we need to subsidize it. Airbus is heavily subsidized in Europe. Comac, which is China's airplane manufacturer, is heavily subsidized by the Chinese government. It seems to me like at a high level that flying should make money. The tickets are very expensive. People fly constantly. There's thousands of flights every day. I don't know how it loses money, but again, I'm sure they could explain it to me. But that having been said, it behooves the United States to have a bunch of airplanes that do their job every day. I don't know how that industry failing does anybody any good. I think it as a matter of fact would do horribly, horribly bad.
Right. Do your job.
Do your job. And if you need some government assistance to keep the planes in the air, let's go. We spend money on stupider things. Let's Boeing.
I think Amtrak gets money because people they want to have trains still for some reason, but
trains would make sense if they were like my wife and I have gone to Europe on vacation. The train systems in other countries make total sense because they're fast, they're reliable, they're affordable, they're efficient, they're beautiful. You don't feel like you're going to get stabbed. So, if you take a train here, I don't feel any of those things to be true.
No. Yeah, that happened to me in New York too. It's some psychos on the train. I had to kind of stick up for these ladies, and no one cared. This is
right. That's the problem. Our public transportation is fucking horrifying, or at least in the big, like we're in Boston, New York. It's I used to take the public transportation system when I lived in Korea, and it was beautiful. It was clean. No threat of crime. It's conceptually bizarre. Yeah. Anyway, let's go on to a happier story. The Menendez brothers might be set free. Okay. This is, again, from the Wall Street Journal. The Menendez brothers were sent to jail for life. A Netflix hit could change their fate. It was a case made for the Hollywood treatment. Two handsome brothers, Eric and Lyle Menendez, had loaded shotguns and shot their parents dead in their Beverly Hills mansion. They were sentenced to life without parole in 1996 and then largely forgotten. Then TV hitmaker Ryan Murphy stepped in. His show Monsters, the Lyle and Eric Menendez story, which premiered on Netflix in September and it has dramatized the slangs of Jose and Kitty Menendez, has opened the stage for a new chapter, prompting calls for a re-examination of the case. And it might lead to a surprising twist. That twist is that they get out of prison. So from what I understand, TikTokers, Kim Kardashian, Rosie O'Donnell, a whole bunch of people in LA are calling for the Menendez brothers to either be released or get a new trial based on the idea that they were horribly sexually abused by their parents and that's why they killed them and it's justified. Tom, you have watched the documentary and you have watched this, yes?
Yes.
Dramatization?
Yes. And both of them clearly show that they did it. So I get the abuse part, but I don't know. I mean, like the whole taking justice in your own hands kind of a thing. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Well, I don't think it's kind of goes against the system that we've got in place.
You're gonna have to take that up with Kim Kardashian because she feels very different.
Well, I get it because they, it's ways that they get followers and incite conversation and whatever else. But yeah, I don't really get it because these they did it. I mean, the show showed it pretty well. The documentaries show it pretty well.
They're guilty.
Why does this picture look like they're boyfriends? I don't understand this picture.
Yeah, it's a
great question. From what I understand, they add a little bit of an incest element to this. So I've watched the documentary. I haven't watched the dramatization of it.
Oh, they go into that too in the series Monsters too. Yeah. Yeah.
It's just this is meant to get people to watch it.
Oh, 100%. It's like, the band Heart early on, they were sisters and they sort of played into like, oh, there might be some incest. Like this Netflix is so good at getting people's attention in a shitty way, but it works constantly. Like they didn't have to do the incest beat. The same thing with the Aaron Hernandez story. They really laid into he's gay, he was gay, that's why he killed people. I mean, he might have been gay. I'm not sure that's why he committed fucking triple homicide.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting thing that happens in Hollywood now because the podcast Serial, I don't know if you guys listened to that, but that got a convicted murderer a new trial and he ended up walking. The reverse happened with the HBO docuseries Jinx, where they were interviewing a guy who eventually just on a hot mic admitted to the murders they were doing the documentary on. I listened to a podcast called Ear Hustle. It's about San Quentin State Prison. The co-host there got paroled largely because he's the host of a very popular podcast. The surviving R. Kelly is largely responsible for R. Kelly getting convicted. So it's like this weird thing in Hollywood now where you bring attention to something, it can either set you free or you're going to trial.
I think there's always like doubt involved with those other ones, right? Here, I don't see there's no doubt really involved.
I don't think the question is whether or not they killed their parents. The question is whether or not it was justified.
I guess, justified. Yeah, I guess. But I mean,
I'll tell you this though. So their father was a Hollywood music mogul. He invented he discovered Menudo. Yeah. So he was swimming in cash. What is it? The music industry? This is the whole fucking Diddy thing, and then like, what is going on? Why can't people just make music without horrible sexual abuse going on?
It's not a good look. Not a good look.
A lot of child actors got abused. I mean, I know a couple of them, and like this shit wasn't untrue. They were passed around, and Hollywood's a bunch of idiots, to be honest with you.
And it's as old as Hollywood, because I did this one thing where I sort of did a deep dive into the history of the casting couch. It started with like the Rockettes in fucking on Broadway. Like the brothers who essentially invented Broadway also invented the casting couch. So they're like, hey, listen, we're going to cast girls. We're going to sexually abuse them. And then Hollywood found out about it and just shifted it right over there. Everyone early on in early Hollywood was the same as they are now. And I guess power corrupts, but goddamn, I don't want to take the moral high ground here, but God, can we stop doing this awful things to children?
Yeah, someone's got to be taking.
Yeah, someone needs to say it, right? Guys, you can't.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead and mess with my kids. See what happens.
Well, that's the thing. Crimes against children should have harsher punishments than crimes against adults. We need to work this into the system somehow. You know?
Yeah.
It's called prison justice once they get in there.
Well,
right.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Or there's a great saying, fuck around and find out.
But then they do things like they'll hide them from the general population, so that doesn't happen. But
well, Epstein and Pete Diddy and all this shit, it scares me how many people are involved in this and how we're hiding this information so many people don't go down the tube. So I'm like, if you're a sick fuck and you abuse especially kids, right? I don't care who you are.
It should be exposed.
Yeah.
So, did you ever watch that show where they would lure in the kids with Chris Hansen? You remember that shit? What was that called? They would the police would pretend to be like a 14-year-old girl.
Yeah, like catching the
To Catch a Predator. Yes, To Catch a Predator.
Yeah.
To Catch a Predator was the best show on TV.
Yeah, I can't watch that stuff anymore because I reality shows and that stuff. You tend to focus in on all the negativity in the world, and I'd rather just not do that anymore because I get anxiety from that stuff.
Yeah. So I can't watch it anymore since I've had children. Anything with kids really affects me. I can't watch it. But To Catch a Predator was pre-children. The reason that show was canceled is because they caught some local politician, got him on camera, and then he ended up killing himself. And like, oh, we can't be responsible.
But
again, did that happen to Jenny Jones too?
Well, job well done To Catch a Predator, I think. One more thing on this. It's funny because something, and then also keep them in prison because the recidivism rate for these kinds of crimes, because this is okay. I don't want to get too dark here, but if a crime against a child happens in your community, what's the first thing they do? They go to the list of registered sex offenders. Why? Because they always repeat the same crimes. Right. So if knowing this, perhaps we should keep them locked up. I don't know. Just a simple marketer. One more thing on this. A lot of people go to prison, and then if they feel like they have a case to get out, they end up getting like a law degree in prison and fighting. That's a bad strategy. What you should do is go to Netflix. Just write a letter every day to every producer.
Put the Netflix series on, and you make it.
It's the Netflix appeal. Do a Netflix series on me, you'll get out of prison.
Right.
All right, one more thing before we talk about business. This is from the tabloid section of Fox News. Martha Stewart claims it was very easy to keep her affair during her marriage in secret. Earlier this month, for the trailer for her new Netflix documentary.
Netflix.
Right on Netflix. Stewart admitted she had an affair while married to her only husband, Andrew Stewart. The marriage lasted from 1961 to 1990. Young women, listen to my advice. If you're married and your husband starts to cheat, he's a piece of shit. Get out of that marriage. Martha Stewart, I guess my point here is that she can give you recipes, tablescapes, tax evasion tips, tell you how to make prison hooch. She's an American treasure. Some people don't know she was a model. This is, I believe, in the late 60s. This is her on the left. In the upper right-hand corner is the husband she cheated on. And now it's American power.
Now it makes sense.
Yeah.
And now, the guy has a chokehold on her. She doesn't even know it.
He was dating way out of his league. Look at that. I don't know. I don't.
So wait, she's saying that they're a piece of shit, but she's the one that cheated, or was he cheating on her, and that's why she cheated on him?
She paints it as that he started having affairs, so she was like, fuck, I'm gonna do the same, and then they managed to carry out a marriage for 40 years.
How many Hollywood couples are doing what they want and they're still married?
I mean, I think you kind of have to, don't you? At that level of fame and money, you're gonna go, no, I'm gonna be monogamous.
I wouldn't be married at that fame and money. I'd be like, I'd have a different girlfriend every night.
This is the Dave Grohl.
It's a lot of travel, and you got fans, whatever.
I'm still broke up with J-Lo and Ben Affleck. I'm freaking out.
You're not over that? Yeah, it's pretty sad.
No.
Yeah.
Everybody's mad at Dave Grohl for having a child outside of his marriage. What do you think rock and roll drummers do? they have children outside of the marriage. Like this is you get
it's
bitten by a
almost
lion.
shocking if it doesn't happen.
Yes.
So like the ones that have stayed together, it's like, why?
I have no idea. You're in a different city every night. The hottest chicks in those cities are throwing themselves at you, and you're gonna go, no, please. I have a wife at home. No, you're not. Good for
I just
you,
can't
Martha.
believe Martha Stewart was the goody two shoes, and she's complete opposite.
Yes, and I didn't know this. She's the first female self-made billionaire in the United States. So she was a model, then she was a stockbroker, then she started a catering business in the 70s, which led to her first cookbook in 1982. She launched her magazine in 1990. She has published over 100 cookbooks.
Yeah.
Who'd have thunk? All right.
Yeah.
That wraps up the news portion. I think we learned a lot, didn't we?
A lot.
Yeah.
We educated the American public on a lot of things that they needed to know.
So. Yeah.
So, Full Throttle Falato Leads.
Yes.
Let me tell you what I know about you. You're an Air Force veteran. Yes?
Yes.
You are a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt.
Correct.
You play the saxophone.
I did. Yeah, my dad's a band director, so I had to play a little bit.
Wow. And you started this business 4 years ago, is that right?
About three, yeah.
3. All right, lead us to how. Can you give us a little of the business background, how you got here?
Well, I started in professional sales in '96 with Monster Board, which turned into Monster.com, and I was always really good at getting leads for myself and for other salespeople. But I was a salesperson, right? So I just kind of forgot about the whole lead gen side of things. That's what you had to do with full cycle sales. Yep. About 3 years ago, I was a VP of sales at TechMate, and TechMate, it's a great IT company, staffing, boots on the ground, but they didn't have really a top of funnel approach. So I built that from scratch, and I realized what to do and what not to do, just like in jiu-jitsu or life or sales, you lose and you learn. So I built that up, and within a month after doing my own company, I was at 12,000 a month, which is about what you make as a salesperson. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, this is not what I'm going to do, is work for other people anymore. So I basically in 12 months built it to about 80,000 a month. And I'm basically a sales as a service doing software as a service. So I'm a SaaS squared, I guess I would call it.
That's squared. That's a good way to look at it. That growth in that amount of time is very impressive.
Yeah, I'm happy. I mean, a lot of people are losing money every month and folding their business or building and not selling. And great, you got a product, but you got to sell in momentum and sales. Right. Otherwise, you're going to fold. If your burn rate's so fast, you're going to be stressed out and taking on VC money and wondering if they're going to take it over from you. I'm not into that.
Yeah,
I would imagine. So what you mostly do, correct me if I'm wrong, it's email marketing, LinkedIn automation, and then you do monthly roundtables to try to get
educate, learn. It's similar to a podcast, right? You're basically getting people on a interview or getting people on a mind share, mind melt, or master class to learn about them and help each other out. By the way, I do lead gen. How you doing?
It's very smart.
Now, who's doing this, Michael? Is it only you? Do you have a process and others that are kind of part of the team, or how does that?
There's about 1 million people that work for me. They're called bots. They don't complain.
Okay, as I say, yeah.
And then I have a client service director. I have basically people that help me with leads, like communication, like the human part of leads. I call it business dating. Like if I automate your LinkedIn, I'm not going to write back to those people and pretend like I'm you. I open a door. If I get you a lead, you got to sit there and go, see, you went to Duke. I see they're going to this conference. I see this or that. If you don't business date, which is a human behavior, not a bot behavior, then you got to be able to know how to do that. And it's like LinkedIn is basically Bumble or Tinder or any of that stuff for business. Right. Stuff it's really important to not sell. Stop selling, start listening, start thinking about what's in it for them. Who cares? So what? Why are you telling them this? How does this affect their job? And how do you align with what their pains are? And you can't be so obvious about it. So that's why these masterminds or roundtables. Hey, I want to invite you to be a guest on my roundtable. What does that make you feel? well, you want me to be a guest? Really? So it's a really good way of kind of bridging that gap before you sell.
Because it is a little bit like the dating app is the dating app analogy is apt because you're trying to smash on the first date in a lot of these cases, isn't it? Like trying to get them to book a thing on Calendly. That's a little, you gotta send them a couple drinks first.
Yeah. Well, the whole thing is I was slapped by people, especially like CROs, men, right? Like, you're going to send me your link, your Calendly app? You think I'm going to fill that out? I'm like, okay, chill out.
People are very angry on this.
Yeah. Did you have a bad day? So I changed the verbiage because you get just like I said before, losing your learn. Okay, here's my Calendly link, or can I have yours? So I thought it would make it easier. But now if I get a Calendly link and say, here's my, fill it out, and they're trying to sell me something, I'm kind of like, what the hell? Yeah. So I can see, you got to learn from other people's perspective that you got to make it like win-win. If you're getting someone to do exactly what you want them to do and they don't like that, then you need to adjust your tone a little bit, even if you're not being rude.
Yeah.
Right.
Are you drinking your own Kool-Aid? Do you have the, email is here's the thing about email I found with clients is that it's much better if they don't know how the sausage gets made, because you're going to have to send out thousands and thousands and thousands of emails. And I don't think they don't like the idea of that because it sounds spammy, and it kind of is, but you have to. You can't target. What are you going to write personalized emails to 5,000 people?
I use intent data. I use anchor data. I mean, again, if you're posting on LinkedIn that you're going to an event and it has to do with what I sell, why wouldn't I scrape that list and say, hey, I saw you going to LinkedIn automation on LinkedIn, a class or a mastermind. I can scrape that list and say, hey, why don't you come to mine? Yeah. That's no brainer, guerrilla marketing. Same thing with trade shows. Attendee lists, especially exhibitor lists who are public. Scrape those lists. Say, I see you're going to Business 2.0 in Vegas. Do you want to get together? Even if you're not going, do you want to meet up at the event or have a Zoom call before or after? Align with them. But like just spraying and praying doesn't work. Yeah. But spraying and praying with a sniper rifle does.
Yeah.
It's genius. You have 31,000 LinkedIn followers. That's a lot of LinkedIn followers. Yeah, how quickly? How quickly did you get to 31,000?
I was at 15,000, 12,000 before I started my company. So I've been on LinkedIn since 2006, I think.
Yeah.
So I was one of the first ones, but I really never thought LinkedIn was, when we were in HR tech, which is my background, it was a front-facing resume, and that's what LinkedIn was.
Yeah. Right.
Then LinkedIn started becoming a networking engine. Then LinkedIn became a job engine. Now LinkedIn has become a business engine. Now it's full of people that are not even real that are sending me like, I thought your business is awesome. Let's talk. I work for L'Oreal. Yeah, right. And you're a hot girl from Japan. And hey, she has 200 followers. I'm like, that's why LinkedIn is so hard to deal with now, is because you have all these bad actors basically trying to pretend like they're real people. So just be authentic, just care about what you're saying and make it authentic. If you're opening the door, you can use automation. Automation does not take the place of conversing with somebody on LinkedIn and acting like you really care, because you can tell when it's a bot, when it's trying to carry on a conversation, at least for now.
Yeah.
The problem too, I think, on LinkedIn is even the people that are super active on there sort of act like robots because it's a devoid of personality. I think LinkedIn is like a high school with no cool kids. It's just everyone's acting like a giant dork, which kind of comes across as bottish.
Sometimes. I mean, I try to be more authentic,
Well, not you. You're on the show. You're perfect. You're not one of them, but those others. So between email marketing, LinkedIn automation, and the roundtable, what do they work do they have to work together? Do you find some are more better at opening doors than others?
LinkedIn's definitely better than all of them, right? But LinkedIn, to automate, you got to pretty much stay below 150 activities a day. So that's why I have like my wife, my kids, all of them on LinkedIn, right? Sending out message, automating them. Then I have people that like are friends of my wife who work at Walt Disney or some other company, right? And they're maids or cooks, and they're never going to use their LinkedIn. Or, they're not they don't need their LinkedIn. So I use theirs, and they're attractive people, also do well. And you got to make a message about like, hey, I want you to be on my show. I want you to be on my roundtable. By the way, I do this. So there's ways for people to feel like important, and there's ways to amplify your messaging by using not just you. And then you have CEOs go, I would like to do this, but I don't have time to respond to my LinkedIn. Well, have somebody do it for you. But if that's your excuse, then you gotta basically give that order to somebody like even a virtual assistant, right? Someone to answer. But if you're not using your LinkedIn and all these connections that you have, you got a gold mine right there. You're not paying attention to what's good in life, and that's relationships.
We are sort of running parallel because my idea with the show is like everybody hates a sales pitch, but everybody loves, do you want to be on a podcast? You're doing the same thing with the roundtable. Yeah. I think at this point, we're automated to death. We can usually tell if our names are in like bracket, first name, bracket, comma.
With a heart and a unicorn.
all the emojis.
Yeah, that's a great way. But mine kind of, I don't always try to be too cute on this stuff because that's when you could get called out about your automation. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. I got interrupted you.
No, it's the same general idea, and it's the sausage getting made thing, because your point about using dormant LinkedIn accounts, because it's what, like 100 invitations a week or something. You can only do so much with that.
200 a week, yeah.
Right, so that
limits you now.
You're capped unless you have another one, and another one, and another one. And like with anything, it's a volume game.
There's groups. You could join groups. You could send emails for free. They go into another inbox kind of, but that's a great way. It's a little tip for any of you guys to look at groups, join 100 groups, and then be able to send messages. There's also ways to scrape the list on LinkedIn and look for open profiles, which means you are allowed to send a free email to them. That's the golden stuff. And then obviously fish where people fish. Look at other events, ingest, enrich, send out on LinkedIn or email. Hit them 3 ways: LinkedIn, email, and have the Roundtable Mastermind be the kind of like the podcast that you invite people to make them feel special.
Right. Yeah.
Is that so? I looked at your website, and I looked at I downloaded your thing, your deck. Do you have one package? Like, what do you offer to clients? Is it all 3? Like, do you approach every client as what they might need and what you think would work best?
I definitely suggest that they use all 3 because it's 3 chances to win, and I haven't really changed any of the pricing to add LinkedIn and the roundtables. Mm-hmm. I've added a lot of work because a lot of those LinkedIn and roundtables a little more less automation. It's more my brain helping them, and it's not repeatable and scalable. But those 3, I'd rather have a good client be happy versus they just did email. Email has gone down the tubes in the last year because of Gmail and Office 365 and Yahoo basically really making it hard to get emails delivered. I still think it works. You got to send more emails out, and you got to make it about them. But to say emails don't work, LinkedIn doesn't work, and roundtables don't work, then what are you going to do?
I have no idea. Go door to door, maybe?
Huh? Yeah.
Go door to door, perhaps?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I amplify what's good or bad. So if your company has a very unique product and great pitch, then it works. But if you sell procurement software to procurement people who don't want to be found, don't really care about it, it's going to take a lot to lift you up. Yeah. I'm FedEx or UPS that knows how to do it very strategically and operational efficiency. And I even help you with the messaging, but I'm not your company. I'm not your marketing department. So just keep that in mind when you hire somebody, whether it's you guys or us, to help each other. We are working with you, not your whole department, unless that's your business, which is not mine.
And you're making a lot of sense to me, but some people might think, well, I don't know if I necessarily agree with him. You know why you should? Because look at his goddamn logos. Warner Brothers, NFL, AT&T, the Dallas Cowboys, the fucking Chicago Cubs, Monster, Verizon. I mean, they're very, very impressive.
Yeah.
The Dolphins.
I've worked with or sold to a lot of different companies, and sports marketing was a big part of my life. Working at Monster, I went into Union Bank of California. Kinko's at the time closed $300,000 deals, closing $1 million in a quarter, 96. I know how to do this right. I'm not saying I'm the most sophisticated salesperson in the world, but I'm not the salesperson anymore. I'm running my company. I'm running it the way I would want it sold to me. which is be honest, do what's right, and make it a win-win. I hate when people try to beat me up or I beat them up about, hey, this is what I'll do. Like, no, find a medium that works for both of you and try to make it. But there's a lot of people that are taught, if you don't beat up the company or the salesperson, then you're not doing the job right. I just think partnerships are important, and I never want to be a vendor to somebody.
Yep. I think it's one of those things, like to your point about email not working. Email still works, but with the restrictions that are in place, you just have to send more emails. And this is one of those things I just think companies are afraid of.
Oh, he froze.
Oh no.
Yeah.
There you go. There he is. Oh, you froze. Yeah.
We're obsessed with vanity metrics, you know, and I think we have to throw that out. Let's go with what works.
Yeah, you got to see who's booking you. And how many replies you get. Open rates, great, but sometimes those are bots opening up or virus software's opening up, so that doesn't matter. It's really about, you got to know your DKIM, your DMARC, your SPF, your MX records when you set this up. I have a guy that used to work at Coca-Cola doing my email engineering. Now, most people are going, okay, let's get Apollo or some system that's great, but if you set up your Gmail or Office 365, it's against terms of service. And you're only going to send 50 emails a day per inbox, and those inboxes are going to get ruined because you're going to hit spam sometimes, or hey, this is non-deliverable. There's so many things that you don't know what you're doing when you're doing this, because I already did them. Yeah, I already failed. Just like in sales, you lose, you learn. Jiu-Jitsu as a black belt. Guess what? I got tapped a lot to get my black belt. What's the average person do to start their own company or be a black belt or join the military? You do something that most people won't do. And I'm not saying I'm like this super god, but I've done things that are against the grain to make sure that I'm gonna succeed in life.
Yeah, but that's the whole thing, right? If you don't fail, you don't learn. That's
I always think that was a stupid saying. Like, shut up. You know what? It makes sense. I saw other people losing. I learned from them, right? Yeah. Or even off topic, like, what is love? Well, have a kid. You'll know, right? It's like whatever. Like when you're younger, like, shut up.
Yeah.
You know what? When you have a kid, it's like that's beyond what you can think about as a wife or anything else. Like, you have something that was yours that you made. It's the same thing with a company. I will never ever work for someone else in my life. I'll never care as much about what's going on in life unless it's my clients and my company. So once you get a taste of this, it's like, I'm making $1 million plus now versus $200,000. I'm not saying I'm rich, but I'm doing much better than I was as a sales guy that would get laid off every 2 years because my last quarter sucked. I got laid off in COVID because I had a bad quarter. I'm like, guess what? Everybody did, So I'd rather be responsible for me. I just wish people would have the same emotion about what I do as they would if they work for me. I never find anybody that does, because you know what? You can't expect people to feel about your company the way you do. No. It's impossible. You're setting yourself up for failure. It's like setting yourself up for someone to make you happy because you're going out and doing something with a friend or a girl or a guy or a friend. You're like, oh, I'm happy. I'm with them. If you're not happy here, you're not going to be happy by yourself. You got to start with there. And that's not easy to do sometimes because I want to beat the shit out of myself.
Let me ask you this. This is a logistics question, but a company comes to you. They want to do an email campaign. I assume it's like some sort of multi-touch drip. Are you writing it for them? Or do they write it? Or like, what is it? How does that work?
I'd like for them to give me what they're sending out so I can figure out what they're doing right or wrong. But if I have to start from zero, then I'm not a copywriter, but I know how to write. I know how to write emails. I know that ChatGPT and Gemini know how to write it too. But if you ever take that, first thing you're going to see, I hope this day is finding you well, or hope you're doing well. I hope this email.
I got a ton of those.
I hope this email finds you well. No email has ever found me well. I'm working.
I hate that. Yeah. I hate that message. So just think about whenever you write something in life, who cares? So what? Why are you telling this? How's this going to affect me? And who have you done this for? Yeah. And make it about an anchor. I come up with a lot of things like off the top of my mind that might be a a noun or vocabulary, a word for something I do, but anchor data. Who's going to this event? Who's going to this LinkedIn, or who's going to this real event? Or doing the roundtable thing. That's intent data. You're showing intent whether you like it or not. That you might be interested. Thing I learned a long time ago at Monster: advertisers advertise. Mm-hmm. Why should I convince you to advertise? If you're already advertising, then I just have to convince you to use me as an advertisement approach. And I'm like, wow. So I always say, fish where people fish now. Why should I go fish in some pond where there's no fish? Right. I know you're going, like, I just went to an event. All these go-to-market people were there. The pavilion, it's called Pavilion. It's awesome, and everybody there was about go-to-market, so I thought this is a great, I joined it that day. I go, they were like trying to sell me to join the membership and all. I'm like, done. You don't need to sell me. I'm done. I already signed up for 5 events with them. Again, what I'm doing is great, but I'm still about meeting people, right? And I don't want to become an event company. I help with events once a month for clients, but a whole community, that's a full-time job to be really good at that and give education, stuff like that. So I would suggest definitely, if you're interested in go-to-market, that Pavilion's a place to go for that type of thing, to be part of a community where people care about each other. Yeah. Free commercial for Pavilion, Sam.
Let's do another free commercial for your roundtable. So you used to do them more frequently. You do them once a month now. Is that right?
I do once a month, and then I do one-offs. Okay. For myself. Like if you guys wanted to do a roundtable with me and we talked about marketing strategies, stuff like that, similar to what you're doing here, but it's more of a roundtable and we're all introducing ourselves. Why did you come to the roundtable? What's 2 tactics that you've learned over the last 6 months that helps you or helps your clients or helps a partner? Or what's 2 things you failed at that we can learn from? So here's the best way to use roundtables or LinkedIn. And by the way, everybody talks. That way people don't tune out. Yeah. If you do a webinar or fireside chat, you might listen, but you're going to be like,
it's not active.
Yeah. Right. So I do that once a month. I do for my clients usually once a month. I was doing it once a week for me, and it just became the same old people showing up. I want new people. And then I also, if you get other people to go in it with you and you automate their LinkedIn, then you get a whole new total addressable market that wasn't yours. And that's where it's worth it for me to kind of sometimes do it for free because it helps both of us. But then I do it once and I'm like, listen, you got to hire me at this point. Otherwise, I'm not going to keep on doing this because it helps you a lot. But the roundtables are a big part of what I do. But again, if it's for CIOs or CISOs, they're not going to come to network. That's not what they care about. So if you're an IT company or MSP, you need to have a fireside chat and educational approach, not a networking approach, which is, again, I learned that people are not going to show up for very technical roundtables about just tactics. They want John from Exxon, that's the CISO that saved the company from being attacked by cyber threats. How'd you do it? Why did you do it? Right. So you got to know your audience.
Yep.
Tom, we have to start hosting some roundtables.
I know. He's really selling us in the roundtables.
I know a guy that can help you guys.
What's that, Mike?
I know a guy that can help.
Did you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No, it's also emceeing it. Like when I do this for my clients, they don't know how to keep it moving. Make sure that John from his competitor is kind of throwing in a little bit of like this ain't a sales pitch, or I'll kick someone out of the Zoom room. And I'm not going to tell everybody I just did that, but I'm like, you're not going to take over this round table.
Yeah, because it's an information sharing, right? It's a mind share of like, what you've gone through, what you've learned, and to get everyone better. Yeah.
Let me ask you this: the guy that you know, is this his website?
Yeah, he's got this really great company, solid guy. He's a paisan from Chicago.
Chicago. That explains the Cubs.
The Cubs.
Where should they go if they would like to talk about email marketing, LinkedIn automation, and roundtable hosting? Would you say?
Well, Throttle is the website that you're looking at here. Mm-hmm. It's really cool animation on the front there if it was animated. On the bottom or in the top, it says contact us. So no, book an appointment on the right there. You could hit that, and that'll go to my calendar, so you can book a time there. My whole thing is just do what you can do to help somebody. But if you can't, then be honest. I don't do B2C because it comes off as spam a lot, right? And then you're gonna have really bad deliverability rates. So
not every tactic works for every vertical. B2C, you'd have how many email? Well, it depends on what you're selling, but if you're selling widgets, it's gonna be tough to send out that many emails, get that many conversions for whatever 30% profit margin. So
I'm not gonna. I just stick with what I know, and I can get involved in the whole sales cycle. But guess what? I'm not repeatable and scalable. So guess what? I'm not gonna be making $80,000 a month. I want to grow this to $100,000 a month, to $200,000 a month. I don't have an IP where I'm building a software like Apollo or something, which millions and hundreds of millions of dollars. But they had to build a really great SaaS platform. And that's just not what I don't want to be ever ending, which is what you have to do with software. You're always building on it. And it's like, that makes me a little nervous. It's like, I don't want to be keeping up with Zoom Info and all these other companies that spend millions of dollars and then they get bought. The whole VC approach, it's getting money to raise money and get money to basically sell. It's great, but that's you're basically getting a boss now, right? You're saying here's 40% of my company, and they can kick you out because you have a board now.
I've always thought about that in terms of entrepreneurship. Taking other people's money kind of makes you not an entrepreneur anymore because you have
I don't want to. No, I can lose 2 clients and still be okay, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you're working for somebody, you're beholden to them, especially for back then. I would stay for health benefits too, because I'm like, I gotta have health benefits as a family guy.
Yeah.
I don't have to do that now. Thanks to like having like healthcare.gov or some other way of getting health insurance. And just, you're never gonna be as successful if you don't work for yourself, just like you two guys are and what I'm doing. I mean, we live and wake up, go, this is ours.
Yeah.
I want that. That's what I'm never going to go back. Never.
You're in a sweet spot too, because whether they know it or not, everybody needs the thing that you do, which is leads. Like leads are never going to go out of fashion. As much as I said AI is going to take every job, and someday I think that they will, but leads will always be a thing that companies need. And what you're doing is you're providing leads pretty hands off. So it's not like they have to necessarily do anything other than the initial setup, maybe writing the emails. I assume at some point they're just getting reports with new leads, or every day they get new emails, or what the fuck, So
they see that. They see bookings, or once a week or once every 2 weeks we have a check-in with them.
Yeah.
But I mean, the biggest thing about what I do, the total addressable market, my TAM is huge, right? Mm-hmm. Pretty much anybody that's B2B. So that's a big thing. Like when you're starting a company, like how many companies can you sell to? Is it dependent on the economy? Mine isn't. Mine is like, if it's a bad economy, you're going to want leads. If it's a great economy, you're going to want more leads. Right? If you're in real estate, which is what I did on the side, anything to do with real estate or other things, right? You're going to have beholden to what the stock market is, what the rates are, and all this other stuff. I don't want to be beholden to that. So I've really found a good niche on, not on purpose. I was always told, once you can start your own SDR team, like, no way, I'm not dealing with a bunch of kids, making phone calls. I mean, they're just blasting emails out. But this is a repeatable and scalable approach using bots and automation that I don't need to actually press. I mean, I was hiring my kids to press buttons every day. I'm like, this is great. They're getting paid $15 an hour, but I can't make this repeatable and scalable. Automation and AI has turned this into a real business.
Yeah.
That everybody needs, by the way. So listen, I'll let you go. I'm sure we took a lot of your time, but one more time. What's the website?
Throttle.com. And there's my calendar on there. You can also send me a text, 512-639-3375. That's my personal cell.
Yeah, I found that to be interesting. That's all over your email. You don't give a shit. I like that about you.
I'm like, you can find me. Yeah. But if you spam me with the text and you harass me, I'll find you.
And as a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, you don't want that, I would assume, right? Nobody wants you at the door.
You want none of the smoke.
No. You showing up, playing a saxophone, and then kicking my ass.
Yeah. Well, you got to have the intro music before you.
Yeah, I'll play a saxophone over your dead carcass.
Wow, it's got dark pretty quickly. I like it. Do me a favor, stick around in the green room, but I'm going to log off the live so people can go about their day.
Thanks,
although
guys.
nothing in your day was more important than this. Michael Felato, thank you for being on. You're a goddamn delight. Yeah. Thanks for your service. That's what you're supposed to say.
Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah.